Hey everyone, Dave DeHaas at Living Waters, and today I have Michael with me, Michael O'Toole, and he's going to share his story. He came to us on the 10-day cleanse. So let's start it back at the beginning. Your mother got really excited about making sure you got on this cleanse, so tell everyone what your symptoms were prior to coming here.
Well, so for years I've struggled with chronic inability to sleep. I was insomniac for a little bit, and I've taken every supplement in the book. I used to have like 25 milligrams of melatonin just to be able to fall asleep. I had stuff prescribed by my doctor. I mean, it was impossible to even be able to turn my brain off for 20 minutes to fall asleep. And on top of that, I've been struggling with a fair amount of anxiety and depression, and I was just ready to make a change. My mom told me about it, and at first I was a little bit wary because I wasn't quite sure, but honestly, I'm really happy I came.
Fantastic. Well, how are you sleeping now?
Oh, like a rock. My problem is on the first 3 days on the cleanse, I slept through my alarm every single day. So I ended up having to call 2 days in a row. Yeah, sorry, I'm 15 minutes late. I overslept again. I even, my mom came in to wake me up one morning, and because she heard my alarm going off, and I didn't wake up at all. And she goes, okay, it's time to get up. And I said, no. And I rolled over in my sleep, and she goes, okay. Well, she came back up like 45 minutes later, and I didn't remember any of it.
Yeah, in fact, she told me, I saw her at a meeting, and she says, the kid that can't sleep just fell asleep in his clothes with the lights on, slept all night, didn't wake up, and we couldn't wake him up. And she was pretty excited about that.
Heck, I even went and saw a movie with her yesterday. I slept through an hour of it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, your body's now catching up.
Finally. And I've been feeling so much more energetic overall. I was always exhausted all the time, which is incredibly ironic overall. But even after doing the liver cleanse, when I figured I'd be just so tired,
right,
I just had this massive burst of energy. And I was like, okay, maybe it's a misnomer or something. But after an hour or so, I was like, I still feel great. And I ended up going to the gym and having a great day.
Yeah, and I know we talked about early on before we started the cleanse about how long this is going on. This has been going on since you're like 10 years old or something, right?
Oh, even younger.
Younger?
Yeah, when I was like 5 or 6, my brother and sister would go right to bed, but I always came out for some excuse. I need some water, I want some more food or something. And my mom would go back and set me to bed, and 20 minutes later, I'd be back.
Be back up, yeah. Yeah, she said, when I was talking to his mother, she says, this is the kid that never slept. So now you also had some gut issues. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So I ended up, I spend a lot of my time eating nutritional supplements and everything, but that doesn't mean you always get the vitamin quite as much. So it was my blood sugar levels were all over the place, and I wasn't getting nearly enough. So that contributed to the tiredness overall. Since being on the supplements and going through the cleanse, I've been feeling so much better, and my skin feels better, and actually able to maintain consistent moods instead of being all over the place.
Well, that's fantastic. That's huge. That's huge.
It's been really incredible.
Now you've done some medications for that, have you?
Not for my gut necessarily. I've been...
But for the moods?
Yeah, I've been on mood stabilizers and actually stuff to put me to sleep as well.
Okay.
And for the longest time, it hasn't really had as much effect, but I'm feeling a lot better now.
Yeah. So now, I thought you had some gut issues, no?
Not as many.
Okay.
Overall, it's just great to be able to be in a clear mind. Actually, I got back last night from hanging out with my friend, and I just sat there in the car for a second and was just smiling. And it took me a second because I wasn't thinking about anything. There was no, oh God, big bad coming. There's no anxiety or anything. And for a second there, I was genuinely happy. And it kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, I used to be like this all the time. There's nothing else. That's it. And it was just that simple. Honestly, I haven't felt that way in years.
Wow. So when you can't remember what it felt like to feel good, and you're expecting you're going to have...
Yeah, it's always constantly, you're happy right now, but how long is that going to last?
Right.
And there's always something else tugging at the back of your mind that doesn't allow you to be fully happy.
Right. Wow. Wow, that is a huge win.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about 10 days doing a deep tissue cleanse to have that big of an impact.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people usually can't even stick to a diet for 10 days.
So. Right. So to have those many changes, that's a big win. So tell me about, just tell everyone your experience on the cleanse. What did you enjoy the most? What are some of the aha moments you had in terms of just going through this process? You're here for 4 to 5 hours every day, and just tell me what were some of the things you did and what you enjoyed.
Well, so every day we went over what my goals were going to be for the day and what negative thoughts I was trying to get rid of. And I didn't realize how often I criticized myself and how much I was holding on to. In fact, they give you a book to read, and I got to one of the chapters that she had warned me usually takes people a long time to get through. So I was sitting there reading it, and it was saying, picture people in your life who you're still holding on to some anger towards. And I was kind of racking my brain, like, I'm not really that upset at anybody. And then it hit me. My friend's dad, who had just been terrible to him for years, back in 4th through 6th or 7th grade,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was still really angry with him, and I had never addressed it.
Wow.
And it took me probably 15 minutes to really get over the fact and assess just how much I pushed that down and how much that guided my thought process, even towards my friend.
Wow.
It took me a long time to realize I actually needed to forgive him. That might be one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Wow. Well, what a great time at your young age to become aware and literally stop that process, and to know that that's programs running in the background in our autonomic nervous system all the time, and we're not even aware. And so for you to pull that up, become aware, is a big thing.
Absolutely. I mean, you internalize so much, and you just don't realize how much that shapes your worldview, and
Right.
It's kind of hard to really genuinely look at people in a good light when you're holding on to some anger against
Right.
somebody. You're always going to have those reservations. And
Right. I know, as human beings, I remember years ago, I hired a personal coach when I found out I had cancer. And we started working on this process for me, and I put a rubber band on my hand, and every time I had a negative thought, I put it, and I was like this. I was like, I've always thought I'm a very positive guy. And then I started becoming aware of this mental commotion that I was creating in my brain, and how we all are. So great win for you to pick that up and to discern why it was there.
yeah, and it's amazing the effect it can have overall.
Right.
Because once you start changing those thought processes, you think differently about things, and you're excited about life
Right.
instead of just focusing on the negative, and you're able to really manifest something great to come instead of worrying about the next bad thing.
Right. Wow. What a great win. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that go through 40, 50, 60 years and never figure it out, right? Until, so that's great.
Absolutely, and I think it's especially important even when you're younger, because your personality is going to change so much, and you want to be aware of what's happening, and you want to make sure that change is positive.
Right.
Otherwise, it's very easy to slide into something and become someone you're not.
Well, and you're right, because your personal reality, whatever you're creating, becomes your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, being able to cut that and choose, as you say, another path.
Yeah, and especially how much of that is shaped by your internal dialogue. When you're always telling yourself you're never going to be good enough, well, surprise, when you're not feeling like you're good enough.
Right.
When you're actually able to shift that, then you start to feel an acceptance, and you go, I am good enough. I think I can do this.
Right,
And,
yeah.
I mean, at one point I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to finish the cleanse, because I was like, man, this is so hard. And I was looking at it and I was like, well, with that attitude, I'm not going to be able to. So I was trying to change my thought pattern, and I was like, I can do this. I can do this. So I woke up the next morning and I was like, you know what? I can get through this. It kind of started off like, I just got to tell myself this, and then the next morning I really believed it.
Yeah. What day was that? Do you remember?
That was day 6.
Day 6, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of different emotions come up that I wasn't expecting, and it was a really tough time. And I had the liver cleanse the next day, which is probably one of the hardest parts. And I was like, God, am I going to be ready for this? I barely got through today. I ended up thinking the liver cleanse was great, and it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it always is. Every liver cleanse is different, so people do go into it with a little bit of trepidation sometimes, and probably because we're prepping you that it could go really easy, or you might have a night where you're awake a lot. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And praise God, I slept through the night like a rock.
Awesome. Didn't worry about it at all.
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole next day I had way too much energy. I was
way too much energy. Did you hear that? He had way too much energy.
When I got up and I was like, I don't think I need a cup of coffee or anything this morning. I think I'm actually good to go.
That's right. You told me you were drinking a lot of coffee before you came here. That was kind of like your subsistence, right?
Oh, absolutely. I probably had about 4 cups a day or 5 cups a day, depending on how it was going. Pretty much any time I started to notice my energy levels going down, well, I'll just have another cup or 2 of coffee.
Right.
And now I honestly don't feel the need quite as much.
When was the last time you had a cup of coffee?
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah, I was kind of tired, and I was just like, okay, I should probably have a small one. But instead of having the full mug where you pour like 2 cups worth.
Right.
I just got a small mug and was like,
So
that's
now it's an option. It's a treat
Yeah.
versus a necessity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And probably gonna save me a ton of money considering it's like $3 a Starbucks
Yeah,
cup.
exactly. Yeah, if you're doing a couple of those a day, that's $6 a day times 30 days. Yeah, it's $180 a month.
Oh yeah, and then by the end of the year, you're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, why
you're
am I broke again?
$1,800. Yeah, you just made $1,800. I mean, yeah.
There we go.
Over 40 years, you're gonna be a retired millionaire now, just off coffee.
Exactly.
So, any other experiences you want to share?
Overall, I just felt like it was a very accepting facility. Everybody was so nice, and they came up and said, "How are you doing?" And they genuinely cared, and everybody very clearly had my best intentions at heart, and that was really refreshing. Especially because everybody is so quickly, they'll say, "How you doing?" They don't really want to hear. So when somebody actually is checking up on you and making sure you're doing okay, you can tell a difference. And I learned so much, honestly. I mean, from biology to spirituality, it covered a lot of bases, and I got to have some really fascinating talks with my parents and with my friends about it.
Oh yeah. What were some of the big highlights in that?
So I was talking about how much our energy levels affect each other, and how when you put off a negative experience, you're like, today's gonna suck and everything.
Right.
It transitions to the people around you. And one of my friends is usually kind of a downer, and we were talking about how much you affect other people, and recently he just got engaged actually, and he's just vibrant and happy, and just walking into the room instead of kind of wanting to just sit down or something, I just felt so much better, and we talked about it for a couple hours actually. Seemed like a different person, and the entire environment was different.
Right.
Kind of incredible.
Right. Yeah. So picking up on energy is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess it's also just down to the basic biology. It's kind of fun when you're actually learning these things because you want to, instead of there's a test tomorrow. I actually retained a lot more this time through.
Yeah, we have no tests here. You get what you want to get, for sure, for sure.
And I think actually it's really important that you talk about attitude so much in this, because I think you do get so much out of this, but only if you're willing to.
Right.
And sometimes I really wanted to get as much as I could out of it, and I really think I got a lot.
Yeah, awesome. All right, anything last thing you want to add? We covered all?
Yeah, not that I can think of.
All right. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your story. David of Living Waters. This has been David and Michael of Living Waters Wellness Center, where miracles begin by healing from within. Thanks for joining us.